Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today from Alerts to Action, Making Preventive Maintenance Work in the Field. I want to introduce our speaker. David Trask is the National Director at ARC Facilities, and he hosts the popular Facility Voices podcast. So, David, we're excited to have you speaking today. I'll pass it over.
Hey, thank you, Indira, and thanks everybody for joining today. And I want to really start off as saying Happy New Year to everybody. Hope your new year is started out great. What I'm really going to do on this session is change it up a little bit, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with people around the country. I'm going to share a ton of best practices, what I've heard in the field. But I really want to make sure that you understand this is learning. I want to make sure that you get something out of this. And the Ask Trask series that we've actually started is essentially reach out. I want to talk to you. I want to help, see how I can share some industry knowledge that I've heard from other folks around the country on best practices. And we're going to really jump in and share some of that today. And what we're going to cover is the changes in FM, the changes in facilities and operations that we've seen over the last few years. Also, tools of the trade, some of the things that your field teams are using, some of the things that you're using every day. Also, preventative maintenance models. And I'm going to dive into what it looks like from a calendar-based model versus a data-driven model for doing PMs. Also, we're going to talk about how alerts can help you, but also some of the gaps that I've seen in sensors and things like that. No offense to the sensors, nothing to do with that. But I'm going to really show you how you can tie that all together in a nice bow so your team can now be able to respond quickly and efficiently. And also looking at technology as a tool. I think a lot of organizations struggle with that kind of positioning on when you're going to switch something up and put stuff in your team's hands. And we're going to dive into that and take a look at some of the best practices on how to get adoption. And then strategies for long-term success in facilities. So let's jump in. So let's talk about the essentially the things that have been going on in the industry, and it's a moving target. It's changing so quickly, and innovations are happening all the time. Think about all the different systems you're using. Think about all of the different programs that you guys are using, how they've evolved over the years. But just like in personal technology, everybody on your team's got a smartphone now, right? They're accessing information live, real time, quick, fast. That's what it's all about. In facilities is no different. Facilities, you need to be able to grab information and be able to respond when it counts. Because in our industry, unfortunately, seconds matter, minutes matter. So some of the drivers of that change are AI. And I was actually at a conference not too long ago, and I asked everybody in the audience, raise your hand if you've used ChatGPT in the last 6 months. Every person raised their hand, right? Then I said, keep your hand in the air if you could have said that 5 years ago. And every person put their hand down. That's how fast technology is changing. These are all FMs in the audience, right? Technology is changing quickly. So adopting new technologies is a big deal, but also smart building technologies. Look at a lot of the automations that are happening. Look at a lot of the IoT. Look at a lot of the things that are going on in our industry. Also, there's a digital transformation. So instant access to non-paper, instant access, getting rid of all that paper and those plan rooms, those binders on the shelf, getting rid of that, because if it's on a shelf, that means I have to go someplace to look at it, right? Look at also the workforce evolution. Teams are getting faster. Teams are, the group that's coming into the industry, they're younger. They were born with a smartphone in their hand. So you've got a mix of the guys who are stuck in their ways, and you got a mix of the people who are coming in saying, wait a minute, you mean I got to go dig through plans to find stuff? There's a real mix, and you can bridge that gap with technology, and they lean on each other. Okay. Also, we're going to talk about sustainability and compliance too, and how that can also help you, right? So don't be fooled. All right. Even your oldest guys on your team have got access to smartphones. They're all on their phones all the time. But the problem that I oftentimes see in technology is that user adoption, right? Getting your team to actually use it. Part of the challenge that I often hear is, they've got smartphones out in the field, it's their personal phone, or maybe they've got two guys have an iPad that are in the field. Well, every one of your guys has a smartphone. Getting tools in their hands like a phone, it's just another tool, will help your team be able to respond. But it also helps with that user adoption. And coin my phrase on this: if it's not easy, they're not going to use it, right? Even the younger guys, they don't want to have to dig. Don't make their jobs harder. So when you're thinking about tools and user adoption, think of it from the perspective of, I want my guys to be able to find stuff quickly, fast, so they're not having to dig. Because if they're having to dig, it's no different than going back to a plan room, right? But build that user adoption and breaking down those barriers across teams, across the different generations on your team. Have them lean on each other. But again, it's a tool in their toolbox, just like a wrench, right? It's a tool. It's just like a ladder. They use it to go do the job. Also, there's this. A lot of folks that I talk to, their teams, they are afraid that it's going to take their job. It's not going to take their job. It's just going to make them better and faster at their job. They're going to be able to make informed decisions, right? It's not going to climb up that ladder and pop that roof hatch and go out on that roof and change those filters, change those belts, diagnose what's going on. It may tell you something's going sideways or something's erratic or not lining up, but it's not going to go fix that thing. So breaking down that barrier is going to help your team with that adoption as well, and break down some of those fears. But it's not the Terminator, like I said. It's not a robot. It's not going to climb up on that roof. It's not going to fix that thing, right? So at the end of the day, your team can move on, move forward, and use these tools of the trade, right? So let's look at some of the things that are going on out in the field right now. Of course, everybody's got a tool belt in a cart, right? They've got ladders. They use lifts all the time to reach the stuff. They're using checklists or using forms. A lot of guys I still see carrying clipboards, right? They're also have a phone in their pocket. Now, it might be a personal phone or it might be an office supplied phone. Maybe they've got a tablet. Maybe they've got a laptop, right? They all need to have access to the information. You don't want them running back and forth from the field, because that's what this can look like too. Do they have to come back from the field into the office to look at the work order system, to make a change? Do they have to upload photos that they just took from their phone? Do they have to email that photo to themselves? A BAS too, if they're standing in front of a monitor or someplace, and sure, it's going to say, hey, we've got some irregularities or something going on. You can make adjustments to things live while you're sitting there. Challenge is, if something goes sideways, guys still got to go out in the field. What I oftentimes hear with BAS systems, and again, no, this is not a shortcoming of the BAS system necessarily. This is just, I don't know exactly where that thing is in the building, right? I worked with an airport, wall of monitors, right? And says, okay, we've got a unit that looks like it's going down or it's got some stuff going sideways. And I'm like, where is that thing? They said, well, I think it's on the third floor. There's a mezzanine level that actually you got to go through this store, and there's a staircase, and you got to go up there. It's a real narrow staircase. It looks like a closet, but there's a staircase in there. You got to go up there. And I'm thinking to myself, what? How do I get to that? And I literally went with my escort. The guy was walking with me when I'm mapping this stuff out. And he said, well, we can't go through this door, and we got to go through this door. We got to go through security here. That's an airport. Well, think of it as a school. I'm the new guy. Sure, something's going sideways in the building, but I don't know where anything is. Or I've got to go look at plans. I've got a plan room, or I've got binders on the shelf, or I've got parts. Again, I'm coming out of the field, but where technology can help you is, something's going sideways on this piece of equipment. What belt do I need? Can I grab it before I even go out in the field? That's what technology can help with. So again, CMMS manages work orders, schedules, okay, with the preventative maintenance, tracks assets and equipment, some of the details about them, manages labor and resources, tracks costs, again, reporting, The challenge is if the team can't update stuff live in the field, then it gets out of date quickly. I talk to folks all the time about this, and I'll share some of those details here in a second. Same thing with BMS or BAS, I'm sorry. HVAC controls, that's what they do. Energy efficiency, cost reduction, centralized monitoring control, all these different things associated with the BAS. The challenge is still this. Again, what kind of models are you using for preventative maintenance too? So think about it. A calendar base, which is what most folks have. It's a calendar based preventative maintenance schedule. So I'm going out there, I'm going to work on stuff, and it's based off of a date on a calendar. I've got a schedule for when that's happening. So it typically ignores the actual asset condition. It's just based on a calendar. It also tends to cost more because I'm doing it. Maybe I don't need to change that filter as often. Maybe I don't have to go out there. It's just because it's a calendar doesn't mean it's necessarily needing what I've got to go out there and do that PM on. Also, under maintenance risk, meaning assets fail because the interval between them and conditions change, right? Over the usage. Inefficient crew utilization. Technicians are dispatched by schedule instead of urgency or criticality. Also, again, access to or shortages of parts. I don't have inventories. I don't know exactly what I've got, and I'm running around like crazy. Increased downtime and surprise failures, and then limited visibility to leadership. Well, data-driven is different. Let's flip that. So less wasted work. All right. Team is changing it when it's actually dirty. Sensors can get involved in this too. I'll share a little bit about that in a second. Also can lower some of those labor costs. My guys aren't out there doing it as often. Costs come down. Lower material costs, not replacing as many filters, right? Energy savings, equipment's running easier. It's properly timed maintenance. Also longer equipment life, and it can potentially extend the life of our equipment. Fewer surprise failures. Again, sensors and things like that can catch stuff. I was talking to a guy at a world famous theater in Atlanta, and he was telling me that, they've got vibration sensors. They've also got airflow sensors and things like that. It's early detection types of things, right? Again, those fewer surprise failures. Also helps him with inventory. He knows what he's got on the shelf. Well, let's look at that. So a real world example of an HVAC system would be like this, and going from a calendar based to a data driven is I change it 4 times a year because it's based off of a calendar. Well, maybe based off of sensors and other things, other conditions, maybe I only need to do it twice. That's a huge savings. 24,000, 15,000 includes the sensors. That's 9,000 a year just on filters. Think about that. Well, this is what that breaks down to. Filters, 12 grand based off a calendar. Labor, 12 grand. Sensors, 0. We don't have those, 24,000. Data driven now goes to 6,000, half. Labor, 6,000, half. You pay a little bit for the sensors, it's still 9 grand. This is an example I got from somebody that I was talking to. These are real numbers, all based off of changing your model from a calendar based to a data-driven base of doing PMs. That's powerful, okay? But again, minimal changes that you can make that, and this involves sensors, but there's other ways that you can potentially look at those types of cost savings too, ways to save some of those costs. I thought this was a great example though. So alerts though, they can't replace where is it and having it mapped out. Most of the alerts just says, okay, something's going sideways. Well, I get it on my phone. Somebody calls me. I get an automated call, or, my guys in the field, they call and say, hey, I just got an alert on my phone. Where is this thing? Or I got to go look at a drawing, or I grab an iPad and I'm trying to find stuff. Again, it's telling me something's going sideways, but depending on which guy has got to go out there and fix that thing, does he know where it is? What if he's a new guy? What if it's third shift? Things, just because it's an alert doesn't tell me all the information I need to go fix that thing. And it starts with where is it, right? So alerts alone, again, It flags when issues are going, but it doesn't necessarily show you where in the building. Do I have to pop the ceiling tile? I know it's in this part of the building, but which tile do I pop? Is it in this room, the next room, or maybe that's served from another area, another floor? So office bound system, slow response too. So think about it. Does your team have to go out of the field, try and figure out where is it, what is it, and look at drawings and look at all this stuff? It's all time, right? Knowledge also tends to be locked in people's heads. I got to call a guy, or I've got 3 people on my team that just know where everything is. And I had somebody the other day that told me, he said, yeah, I call those guys my walking as-bills. They know where everything is. Okay. I said, that's great. They both won the lottery, or those guys won the lottery. They split it, and now they all walked out tomorrow. What do? I got this blank stare. Think about that. If it's up here, it's not out there to everybody. Everybody should know where this stuff is. Also, documentation gaps can increase risk, missing and outdated records, meaning stuff changes all the time, right? You swap out units, your list now is out of date. Your equipment list is out of date. Mobile and offline access is a big deal. Getting access in the field, not having to run back and forth. And it also allows, again, the challenge is how do I make real world decisions when I don't have all the data? I've got pieces, parts. It's all over the place. So where is everything? That's what it starts with. If I can't find it, my team can't find it, we're digging. That's time. You're hearing me say this over and over. Time. In facilities, we never have enough time. So here's how we address that. So you can't manage what you can't find. If my team doesn't know where everything is, it slows everything down. My response time slow down. My number of PMs that I can complete in a week slows down, right? I can't do as much as I want because I don't even know where everything is. So ask yourself this, and this is a challenge for the audience here. Think about this. I want to think about this for your team. How long would it take to shut the water off on the second floor if a pipe bursts at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday? Think about that. Think about who's on shift at that time or who's on call at that time. Do they know where that shut off is? How long would it take? So is it the new person? Is it the guy on the team who's been there forever? Maybe it's the guy that's covering, but he hasn't been in that building in a while. Depending on the size of your campus, you may have hundreds of buildings. It depends on who shows up. Who's the person that gets called? Can they shut that water off on a Saturday on the second floor at 8 o'clock? How long does that take? That could be that image off to the right. That's the difference between minutes or seconds and minutes, right? Or hours trying to find this stuff. That photo off to the right, just for reference, someone that I was talking to sent that to me. You know, that Ask Trask that we mentioned at the very beginning, that came out of one of those conversations. I said, oh my God, please tell me you've got a photo. He did. He sent me this. He didn't know where the shutoffs were. So how much institutional knowledge would be lost if those team members that know where everything is, remember those walking as-bills, walk tomorrow, right? Think about that. That's a lot of your building knowledge it's going to walk. And what's your plan to capture that stuff before they walk? A lot of those guys have probably forgot more than they could ever teach or before they could ever document. So if they've been there for 30 years, think about all the knowledge that those guys have gathered over the years. It's up in their head. That doesn't help the next person up. You hire 3 new hires and they are blind. They don't know where everything is in your buildings. So if you had an incident in your building and it was locked down, how quickly could you get information, just floor plans, over to first responders? Think about that. First responders are blind to your building. They don't know where anything is, right? They don't know what's on the other side of that door when they they walk up to that door. How do I know that? My dad was a first responder for 50 years. He was a firefighter. And he told me flat out, when I walk up to a building, I have no idea what's on the other side of that door. Neither do the police. Can you share a floor plan with the police, with the fire department, so they can go in and do their job. They can go in there and know what's on the other side of that door. Can you circle things and say, here's the part of the building where that incident is happening? Time. If you can't, it's a problem. That's safety. That's life and safety right there. And think about it this way too. Your newest team member is covering when an incident happens. Plug your scenario in here. Think about the last incident that happened in your building. Could have been water, could have been power failure. Something went sideways, right? And the newest team member was the one that was on site first. How did they find information? How long would it take them to respond? I am a firm believer, right? Everybody on your team should know where everything is. Everybody on your team should be able to respond and make a decision on what they need, see exactly where stuff is, and make educated decisions. Not have to run back to a plan room, not having to run back to the office and try and figure out where it is. Pull their phone out of their pocket. Phone. Everybody's got one, and they can find what they need quickly. That's what we're talking about. So this is what I oftentimes hear, though. I call it the search, right? I'm going to pop that tile. I'm going to pop that tile. Oh, it's that one. I'm popping 3, 4 tiles before I can figure out which one I've got to pop to find what it is I've got to work on. All right. The other challenge is easy access. That's me on that ladder. I had to put a ladder on top of a desk and then a ladder to get up there, right? That's me. My head's up in the grid. That's where I spend a lot of time, unfortunately, or fortunately. I see a lot of stuff. I see this all over the place. So think about your building. How do you document that that's the ceiling tile you got to pop to get at that fan coil unit? How does a new person know that? Taking photos, showing areas of not just a zoomed in photo of that particular tile, that doesn't help me. That whole room's full of ceiling tiles, right? Taking a proximity photo, showing where that is too. Same thing when you're documenting stuff outside the building. Take proximity photos showing, okay, well, here's a tree here, here's a doorway over here, here's this building, it's in between these buildings. Mapping out stuff, not just in the building, also the stuff outside the building. Think about site plans. Mapping all your exterior shutoffs, your mains, all your sewer cleanouts, all of that stuff, all in a site plan. So again, it's not just the stuff in the building, from the basement to the roof, it's all the stuff outside as well. So how many times a day or a week is your team popping ceiling tiles, jumping up on those ladders, up and down, up and down? It happens all the time. This is a daily on most facilities teams. This is multiple times a day, trying to figure out where stuff is. I'm doing PMs, or I've got to go work on something because somebody had a hot cold call, whatever the case may be. If you outsource part of your HVAC, how does your vendor know where stuff is? Are they digging? Are they spending time? Because everybody knows if you're outsourcing and if it's on an hourly rate, you're paying thousands and thousands of extra wasted dollars because it's taken them time to find stuff too. This is the other thing. Where's that FCU? This guy told me this. He said, "Oh, just look for the stains in the ceiling tile." Oh my goodness. I call this a skull hold. You grab your head and just shake your head. No, that's not the way to find something. And again, is it the tile with the stains or the one of the other 3 that are right there? Also, there's this. I got a ceiling grid. It's all filled, but I see 2 red and blue dots. What is that? I'm assuming hot and cold, but supply, return, both. What's that? What is up there? And more importantly, what does it serve? Do I know? Or I just see there's a couple blue dots up there. Who put those dots up there? Think about that. Sure, it's identified something's up there, but what is it? Document, document, document. 20 to 40% of assets in the field get changed out. They're all over the place. Stuff is changing all the time. Incidents happen. That center picture there where you've got that line dug up there. They change that out. Do you just pour new concrete? Do you fill it in? Or do you document it? Do you have a way to document that stuff? Or the unit off to the far left there, that's old, but it's running. All right. Or did you replace that? That's now decommissioned, but it's still there. Stuff moves. It's all over the place. How's your team able to document stuff when they're in the field standing next to the unit, not have to run back to a plan room? This is the other thing. Is that the right filter? There's multiple units up there. So I'm climbing up this roof ladder. This is a guy actually, I took photos of the sequence that he was going up there. He grabs the filters. I think this is the right ones, climbs up there. Somebody changed out the lock at the top. So he's trying to fiddle with his keys, figures out, okay, here's the right key, pops it up there, goes out on the roof, wrong filters. That guy cannot remember every single filter. They got 3 different kinds of units up on that roof. Which filters do I grab? He had a 1 in 3 shot. The other thing, though, is scanning alone. Getting rid of that paper is not enough. Scanning stuff and dumping it on a share drive means I got to typically come back to a computer, sit down, and dig. But especially when I still can't find stuff because no one even named the files right. Great, they just scanned it, and it's the default name of the scanner. You know, when it scanned it, it named it, and it's the default name. Or it's not even organized by building or floor. There's a better way. I'll show you what that can look like. But this is the thing. Again, the skull hold, I call it, because people get frustrated. I talk to facilities teams, I talk to directors all the time, and I interview them on the podcast, and they share some fantastic stories, but none are worse than the ones that I hear where they are struggling. The team is down head count, they're running around like crazy, and they're trying to find stuff, and they all look at it as a wasted time. All right. So let's look at technology and shift your thinking here. Technology is a tool. It's no different than a wrench. My team needs to find something. They need to be able to find it right now. It's a tool. So again, every person on your team's got a smartphone, whether it's an Android, whether it's an Apple phone, everybody has a smartphone. Your team should be able to find the stuff they need to do their job. Push a button, get right to it quickly, because that saves time. It also helps them make informed decisions because they have a true visual of what's there. So this is how fast I see facilities teams changing. These are photos I took, right? Different guys are walking around with a phone. They're walking around with a tablet. If you notice there's a lot of gray hair in some of these photos, right? At the end of the day, even the guys who have been there a long time also know where stuff is. The guy on the left, younger guy, he's walking around with a smartphone. He's walking around with his iPad. The guy in the middle there never had an iPad before. He doesn't have one at home. He's got one at work. It's a tool in his tool belt, right? He's carrying this. This is on his cart. The guy off to the right, again, been there for a long time. He looked at it as, oh my gosh, I don't have to remember where all this stuff is. That's what we're talking about. He probably forgot more than he can share with somebody else, but he can document stuff while he's standing in front of it. Now everybody sees it. As soon as he hits that button that says save, boom, everybody sees it live. So access to information, let's talk about it from a shut off and equipment. You've got everything in seconds. You've got everything mapped out by type: gas, water, power, med gas for shutoffs, all the panels, all of the transformers, all the switch gears, all the water mains, outside backflows, all of that stuff mapped out. Everybody can see it. Think about it from equipment, all the HVAC system. Think about that. HVAC, pumps, water heaters, cooling towers, all the stuff associated with operating the building, all mapped out. Everything, all in one spot. Everybody can see it, building to building, floor to floor. But not just mapped out where is it, and being able to turn buttons off and on and see the specific things that I want. Imagine being able to do a search and you're looking for an AHU in a building. I'm a new person, and the search results come back. It's here's the AHU, here's the VFD for it, here's the panel for it, and click on any of them, and I see photos. I see the location mapped out on a plan, like you see right here. All of that for that one unit, but also see all the details associated with it. In this case, Here's a water heater. I see make, model, serial number. I see exactly where it's located, what floor is it on, what areas does it serve. I've got the link to the manual. I've got the link to an exploded parts list, videos, link to a thermostat, link to anything associated with that unit, to a YouTube video. Or maybe the guy, he's fixed it a couple of times, hits that little plus sign in the upper left-hand corner there on that screen, records a video of himself saying, hey, this one's a little funky. I've had problems with this in the past, in his own words, and now everybody sees that. Think about that. That is a huge time savings for a team. Here's a true story. A school, research building. They've got these in the hallway of this building. They've got 50 freezers with decades of different things that they're doing research on. Power goes out. All right. And again, right before the first day of new classes here, too. So they've got it's research. They've got students coming and going. The new technician been on the job for 4 days. Think about that. 4 days. All he asked is, what's the on the little sticker on the outlet, ask the person who called, what's the panel number? They said 1NLB. Searches, finds it on a plan like you see at the bottom down there, goes right to it in seconds. Okay. 5 minutes. He's in front of it, diagnose it, they're back up and running. Think about that. Can your team do that? If they can't, let's do an Ask Trask. Talk to me. Call me. I'll walk you through how other folks are doing it today. It's easy, and it's a lot easier than you even think. So modern facilities are also, teams are accessing full MEP sets. I oftentimes talk to people and they'll say, oh, we've got a plan room, or you know what, I've also got a bunch of digital files are kind of all over the place. And I've got pieces and parts, and I'm waiting months and months and months to get my closeout packages. We've got 4 projects going across this one building. And I'm running this through my head. And I'm like, okay, if you can't find it, it's in a plan room, it's on a share drive someplace. And I've also got drawings from a new project that I don't even have yet. No, all of it should be in one spot. And your as-built should be, your closeout package should be built during construction. Okay. All those drawings, all that closeout package, all through construction. And now you have full visibility day one when you get the keys. So mapped as-builts, think about all those drawings that you've got. All these color-coded areas that I'm showing you here, this is for a floor plan. This is the first floor of a building. All those color-coded areas represent a change. That's a project. That's the closeout drawings. Remember, and you all know this, when you get a closeout package on a renovation, on touch 4 rooms, 5 rooms in a building, they're not redrawing the full MEP sets for the whole floor. They give you that section. That's what this is. I call that a puzzle. The problem is most people have a 100-piece puzzle for a building, and it's like somebody just threw all the puzzle pieces on the floor and say, go find this. They're digging through plan sets. I'm opening up rolls of plans. I'm looking, nope, not that one. That didn't touch this area. Nope, not that one. And it stacks up and up and up. It's no different when you're looking on a share drive. If they're not organized, you're opening up these files. Nope, that's not the right project. Nope, that's not the right project. Or I call Bob, because Bob was here for 30 years, and Bob was here when these projects happened. Matter of fact, some of these projects happened before Bob was even here. The problem is information's all over the place. All the drawings should be in one spot, mapped out, shows you where everyone is, and I can click on it, and it takes me right to that project. And I close it, and if it's the wrong one, go to the next one. Quick, quick, quick. Seconds. But I'm doing this in the field on my phone too. I don't have to go back to a plan room. What I'm showing you right here is on your phone. Every renovation means more documentations too. Documentation. It also means equipment moves. Every one of your projects would be mapped out, showing where everything is. So when the new project happens, it's added on. Here you go. The new project, it immediately shows up. Everything's in one spot. Now you have full visibility day one. Everything is in one spot. Everybody knows where everything is live. Things change. This changes. It's not static. Everything's in one spot. But the impact, if you don't, is if you don't have access to everything, is emergency response. Okay. It really impacts your business continuity, can cause lost revenue, right? Think about if you're a hospital and all of a sudden three ORs shut down because you have no air, right? It can impact health and safety over your full building. Okay. Impacts the people in your building. It also access to building and equipment information delays. It delays your ability to respond. It also can displace people, occupants, staff, visitors. And here's a true story. I literally just talked to a guy last week about this. Okay. Penthouse pipe burst. It was an 8-inch pipe, right? 10-story building, 5 degrees outside. Water went all the way from the penthouse to the basement. Okay, think about that. All the way from the penthouse to the basement. 2 elevators flooded. The one off to the right there in the bottom right, that's a photo he sent me, right? Think about that. 2 of those flooded. 45 minutes to find the shutoff. Estimating 3 million in damage. Okay, in 45 minutes, 3 million in damage is their estimate. I paused when he said that. I couldn't get my head around that. But you think about all the damage that happens all the way down. The photo on the bottom left, flooded offices. You know, you can't make that stuff up. I mean, it goes sideways quick. The second line bursts 2 days later, and they don't even know the cost on that one. It didn't take them as long to shut it off, but I'm just running numbers in my head. Okay, even if that was a quarter of that, do the math. Didn't have shut off locations mapped. No one knew. Okay. They knew where the main going into the building was. That's what they ended up doing, killing the main. That means no water in the building, right? You know that. You can't do that in a hospital. Where are the water isolation valves? Got to document where that stuff is. If you don't, I'm going to show you what that can look like. Again, emergency information should be at your fingertips. Everybody on your team should be able to find it. Click on the building you want to see the information for, and you get there live on your phone. That's what it is. Real-time data on every single one of your buildings. Live, mapped out. Everybody's looking at it, and it's easy. I need to see this building. Click on the name of the building. Boom, there's everything for that building, all in one spot. Here's what that means as far as being able to respond. This is a school, rooftop unit catches on fire. The person who rolls up is brand new. She's an HVAC tech. Okay, I was talking to her about this, and I just was like, this is awesome. They happen to have our technology, but she rolls up to the building, and again, first responders, no idea where anything is. They're not just going to start putting water on this. It's gas. So they need to know where the gas shutoff is. They know where the electrical is, or the panel is to kill the power to it. So she goes, oh, okay, great. All she did is open her phone, says, okay, it's in this room, unlocks the door. Here's a photo of it. It's a third breaker down on the right. He goes, how the heck did you know that? She goes, I've got all my schools here. Can you do that? I couldn't get my head around that story. It was awesome, and she's brand new. So think about that. Can your newest team members access where everything is? Mechanical equipment, shutoffs, all the stuff associated with your building, all the drawings, full MEP sets. Everybody should be able to. Day one that they start, and the people who've been with you for a long time, they can document stuff too, real time in the field as stuff changes, as they find stuff. It's not static. You got to be able to change stuff as things change too. So strategies for long-term success, right? It's technology, AI, a lot of these different things it helps you make data-driven decisions. It's going to help you analyze stuff quicker, make some of those predictive projections too. But at the end of the day, help your team really be able to make informed decisions. It also helps you with proactive capital planning, be able to make informed decisions on current conditions, help prioritize some of those investments, but for that long-term forecasting. Also helps you optimize your workforce management. helps you kind of realize, okay, we're spending a lot of time on here. Let me make adjustments over here. Helps you right size your team so that you're right sizing the workload on your team, meaning you can move people from here to here and be able to adjust as conditions change. Also, it's going to help capture some of those efficiencies and look at energy savings across your portfolio. And these are some of the different tools that are out there. And you may have some of these. Okay. It's also going to help you reduce that overall risk to make some projections, but also with some of the technologies, you're going to be able to make some of those decisions to respond faster. All right. That's what this looks like too, from a model of being able to save time is you're going to know a lot more about the equipment before you go up there. So if you get a work order, what do I need? What potential things do I need? Maybe it's coming up on the PM for that. Maybe I'll knock that out because the PM on it's going to take me 20 minutes. Well, while I'm up there fixing something or checking on it because something, I got a sensor said something's going sideways, might as well knock out that other stuff too. I'm not having to dig to figure that out. Also, let me grab the filters. You know what? What belt does it need? Oh, you know what? That thing has a recall. That's what AI can scour your system, scour the web and find some of this stuff, but also pull information that the team needs to be able to respond faster, all on their phone. Okay. So aligning AI with organizational goals, again, it goes beyond operation. It supports sustainable and cost efficiency, and also tenant satisfaction, whether they're students, whether they're employees, whether they are maybe you've got vendors or other companies, I should say, that rent spaces from you, or maybe they're patients or visitors. All of those, it goes beyond operations. Also helps with some of those sustainability initiatives, cost efficiency, but overall tenant satisfaction. That's the goal. You want everybody to be happy. They're not too hot, they're not too cold, but also when something goes sideways, you want them to be able to respond. So part of that long-term planning is proper resource allocation. It's going to be able to help you. These are some of the tools out there that are going to be able to help you make those decisions, but put it all in their hands so that they can access the information to do their job, mapped out where everything's located. So now I can make informed decisions. It's also going to help you with some of those strategic decision-making processes based on data, real data, and also help me be able to respond with sustainable options too for looking at energy optimization as well. So, Indira, let's open it up to some questions.
Great, David, thank you. We do have a lot of questions, some comments coming in, so let's dive right in. Just a quick reminder, I did put in the chat, if anybody wants it, the Ask Trask link. You can click that and you can have a longer conversation with David. But David, let's go ahead and get into this. So one comment I have here is many hospitals will allow only one tile open without a dust cart, knowing which tile you can hit the mark the first time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're walking through with the cart, and I don't want to have to pop, multiple. I can't, like they said, and having those spatial photos associated with wherever unit is a big deal. I've done those walks in hospitals. I've done those walks in OR corridors and even in ORs to understand that problem, and to be able to document that information is a really, really big deal.
Yeah. Another comment here, David. It says, I'm so impressed, David. You pointed out a lot of issues we are currently facing. Location of shutoff valves, locating correct drawings.
Yeah, that's universal. I've literally had hundreds of conversations with people that are in the same boat. My goal is to share those best practices. I encourage you, hit that link there, scan that QR code. Let's talk. I'm happy to share what other folks are doing. But you're spot on. I mean, teams are struggling trying to find stuff, and there's just better ways to do it.
Yeah. Here's a question. How do you make sure that your as-built have been updated retroactively? We had a walking as-built leave without documenting anything in depth, and the team has not been updating records since the building opened around 10 years.
Goodness. Call me, scan that link. Let's talk. At the end of the day, a lot of folks have got stuff siloed. So, for instance, the guy who did walk out, the walking as built, he's got information that he walked out. A lot of folks that I talk to will actually even potentially do a retainer with that person, or even some kind of an agreement. Hey, you'll take a call if we call. I just talked to a guy at a stadium, and he was telling me that he still gets calls. He's been gone a year. He gets calls, he said, at least one a week from the guys that he used to work with, because he's the guy. He's the one that everybody knew where, went to if something was going sideways. But being able to document, it's also a move forward plan. So in our system, we actually pick up all the drawings, all the digital, all the paper that you've got, scan it all in. We got around roughly 140 offices in the US, scan all that stuff in. We do the work. Okay, organizing it. Then you'll start to identify, well, wait a minute, we're missing project information from this project or that project that happened. They'll go back to their architect or their GC and say, hey, we need the additional drawings. And you just keep adding. So as you find stuff, you're adding it too. Or maybe you've got old rolls stuck behind somebody's desk. It's all in there. We scanned it all in, organize it. Now it's all in one spot.
Great. Thanks, David. Another question I have, do we need to map the equipment again if the floor plan changes?
You depends if the equipment moved or if the equipment swapped out. Yeah, but our team, our solution, I can only speak to it. We come back out, we remap it. So if you renovate a floor, renovate a building, we come back out and remap it. That's all included. So if you've got 10 projects in a hospital that you're working on, if you renovate certain areas of the building, we come back out and remap that stuff. Our team does all the mapping. So we have a full team that goes in and does the site walk and maps out where this stuff is. But we also teach your team, if you're swapping out one unit, we teach your team that they can update it live in the field on their phone too. If they're moving fire extinguishers or they swap out an exhaust fan or something like that, we're teaching the team and training the team how they are constantly able to update that stuff live too.
Great. Another question, David, what was that screenshot you showed showing access to shutoffs and equipment locations earlier?
That's actually our app. We map out, and it's all in floor plan. So as a floor plan changes to, like the previous question, we swap out with the current floor plan, and then we come back out and remap. But we're mapping out all the mechanicals, all the shutoffs in there. We've even all the emergency equipment. So think about all your extinguishers, strobes, all the stuff associated with your building that maintenance falls under maintenance. All that stuff is mapped out, and the team can filter it by what they want to see, and be able to see everything they need for whatever that work order is or whatever their job task is. That's actually our software. Again, like I said, scan that QR. Happy to show that to you as well.
Okay, and then thanks, David. Another question. We have some of our shutoffs, excuse me. We have some of our shutoffs mapped on a wall. I'm sorry, on a map on the wall, but I'm sure we are missing some. If we had your system, can we add any more that we find?
Oh, 100%. I see that quite a bit, where I'll go into a facilities maintenance office and I'll see a framed or an old floor plan that's mounted to the wall. And if they change something, they just print it out and put it on the wall. The problem is that doesn't help the guy in the field. He's got to come back down there and try and figure out where it is. And it doesn't show photos. It's just a red dot or a blue dot or something on maybe it's even got a handwritten note on it. The problem is that doesn't help me in the field. So the way our system actually works is, and I hear this all the time, I'm working on something up in the ceiling grid and there's a valve. Even if I don't know exactly what it serves, I can kind of ballpark. I can see, okay, there's lines going here. I know it's water. I can take my phone out of my pocket, take a picture of it, put a pin on it, hit save, everybody sees it. And then if I figure out what it serves later on, I can come back and put in details. All those details that are in the system too are all now searchable too. So if I search for, use an example, AHU1 or a fan coil unit, O2, I can put notes in there as I find them that, it serves rooms 1 through 5 or 202 through whatever, or ORs 1 and 2. I can put all those details in there. It's all searchable now. So as you add additional information in there, as you find stuff, everybody sees it. So I kind of look at it as this way. It's instead of the walking as built in that person's head, now the walking as built is in somebody's pocket. It's on their phone live and they can see it real time and not just current conditions. As they change, they can change it and everybody sees it.
That's so convenient. And here's an interesting question. We're getting ready to do an FCA at our sites. Do you also map mechanical equipment?
Oh, 100%. It's funny. It's funny. That's a good question because I've talked to, I can't tell you how many folks, and I've interviewed people that do FCAs as well. And there's catch 22 with FCAs. Everybody should be doing an FCA. I feel anyway. However, here's the problem. It's garbage in, garbage out in a lot of cases. If what you're providing the FCA organization right out of the gates is missing stuff or not doesn't even show what's really out there in the field, they can tend to be blind. They're not going to pop all the ceiling tiles and look. They're not going to do it. I've yet to talk to anybody who pops out all the ceiling tiles and can say what's actually up there all over the place. As your team finds stuff and it's all mapped out, think about it this way. You give the FCA organization access to this system before you even do the FCA. It's all mapped out. They've got all the drawings. So you've got all the legacy information. You literally hand it to them. Now they can identify some of the stuff that may be missing in there and make real reports back to you as far as your FCA results.
Fantastic. I did have a few questions. People are asking if we're going to send out the recording. Yes, we will. Just keep an eye on your email. If for some reason you don't receive it, you can send a note to us at solutions at our facilities or reach out to David. Another interesting question here, David. Okay. What's the recommendation for mapping when leasing suites in a building? We don't have access or authority to access many of the shutoffs, but will be impacted if the owner doesn't have them mapped or prepped appropriately.
I'm assuming that question means you're in a lease space. That's if I heard that right. Lease spaces. I've got several of my clients that actually they're research facilities. They lease the spaces. I've got another client that's actually a manufacturer. They lease the space. Those are two different models, meaning the one that's a manufacturer, they're responsible for all the maintenance of the building. Okay. The owner only does the stuff exterior. They're responsible for even HVAC. The flip side of that is a tenant that is only responsible for the build out stuff that they did, or maybe some of the emergency stuff. Two different things there. Okay. So if I'm on the tenant side where I'm not responsible for anything, I can't respond necessarily because I don't have access to the shut off locations. Or maybe the flip of that is when I did the renovation, I never shared the closeouts with the landlord. I've seen that scenario too. Blind spots. Okay. That's blind spot for the owner. That's blind spots for the tenant. Both of them can come together through this system that I just showed because you can give access to both. Okay. On the other scenario where the tenant is actually responsible for all the HVAC, all of it's mapped out. So as they make changes to the building or they do adjustments to the building, it's constantly being updated. Either scenario, if you heard what I said here is a consistency, everybody's looking at the same stuff. Tenant, landlord, or tenant that manages the whole thing. Everybody's looking at the same stuff. They add stuff live.
Great. I have a comment here, David. We had two lines freeze and burst this week in two different schools with this crazy weather that we're having. I wish I had this. Thank goodness the school was closed, but the custodians found them and we sent the crews fast. It still took over 30 minutes to find the water mains.
Yeah, it, it's funny in schools or a lot of organizations, the custodial staff knows where everything is. I jokingly say that the custodians know where the bodies are buried too. They're in every room, they're in every space. And oftentimes when we're doing our site walks and we're mapping out stuff, and like I said, our team goes out and maps all this stuff out. Um, Well, the guy that may be walking with us, maybe he's, I don't know, an HVAC tech or an electrician. When he goes from school to school, I can use this as an example. There's a school district we work with. It's got 60 schools. Okay. So they've got a team of electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs. They don't remember where everything is. So when they're trying to figure out what panel is where, they'll go to the custodian. Is there a panel? I think there's another panel someplace. Oh, yeah, it's behind the door. Matter of fact, the teacher in the classroom actually covered it up with some poster board. Okay. That guy would have been spending hours trying to figure out where that thing is, right? Custodians also have access in their platform. Everybody knows where everything is. Everybody's on the same page.
Great. Thank you, David. That's all of the questions. If there's any that we didn't get to, we'll just reach out individually. Just a reminder, feel free to click on the code here or visit the link that I have here. David, did you want to say, just kind of let everybody know a little bit more about the Ask Trask sessions?
Yeah. The Ask Trask sessions are 100%. I want to pick your brain. I want to help identify how you might be able to do things better. It's not all my words. I'm going to share stories. I want to hear from you, consult with you, pick your brain, but more importantly, share some of the stories. Like I mentioned, I've got hundreds of these different scenarios that I've talked with folks about. I'm also always looking for other ways that the podcast can share some of those stories. And these are your stories. So if you're interested in potentially looking at being a guest on the podcast, coming up on 100 episodes, it's not about our company. It's your story. It's you sharing best practices. But at the end of the day, I'm an educator. I'm here to help. I want to be able to share information and teach you ways that you could do things better. That's my goal.
Fantastic. And a reminder, if you submit a request for the Ask Trask session today by 5 p.m. Pacific time, we will make sure you get entered to win a gift card. And we'll post the winner on our company LinkedIn page, ARC Facilities. If you go to LinkedIn and find our company there, we will post it by 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. We'll also send an email to the winner, of course. I do want to remind everybody, we're going to be sending out a follow-up email with the recording, also with some additional resources regarding this topic. And we're here to answer any questions that you have. If you want to reach out to us, here's all the information on the screen. I do want to say that we have a fantastic blog on our website. Please take a look at that under resources. We've got some really great customer videos, again, under resources on arcfacilities.com. And to go to resources tab, you'll see a bunch of great content and resources there. And of course, if you haven't already, please tune into the Facility Voices podcast, where David hosts, and lots of really, really good practical information there for you. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. David, anything else before we wrap up?
Definitely check out the podcast. It's got, like I said, I'm coming up on 100 episodes now, and there are some wonderful, wonderful stories on there, and people really are sharing some best practices that you might be able to take away.
Great. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. We hope to see you on the next webinar. Keep an eye out on your email, and we'll make sure you get an invite to that. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.